Good morning and welcome to Women's Issues Social Work 908. I'm Leah Doherty. I'm the professor for this course. I'm going to spend a few minutes going over the syllabus, tell you a little bit about myself and the expectations for the course, and hopefully answer any startup questions that you have. So let me start by going over the syllabus. I'm going to minimize the screen here into the corner, and hopefully you can see the syllabus now on the screen. The syllabus is posted on Moodle. This is Women's Issues in the Practice of Social Work. Oh, I see I have a typo. I'll fix that before it's posted up to Moodle. It says spring still there in that one spot, but it says summer up here. Course description. This course builds on and integrates human behavior, research, policy, practice, all of your other courses. Now, I know that some of you are coming to this course from in various times of your curriculum. Hopefully, though, you've had at least the human behavior class and policy, the first policy course. If you've had research, that's great. And if you've had some of the practice courses, that's helpful, but not necessary. Basically, though, this course ties in everything else. It's focused on a population of interest to you, women's issues, but it's pulling together all of the other social work curriculum. So if you have questions about that or concerns, certainly reach out to me. It is an opportunity to consider the strengths and problems of women in current U.S. society and internationally, and the relevance of recent research to what we know about working with women. We'll look at diversity and women in all kinds of settings and capacities. So the rationale is that women in American society experience institutional oppression in many forms, including sexism, racism, classism, ageism, ableism, and heterosexism, and therefore are vulnerable to a myriad of social and personal problems. So as practitioners, we need to develop skills in terms of engagement with women. We always say start where the person is. Well, what does that mean? For the person sitting in front of you. How do we need to, excuse me one second while I turn off the air conditioner. I forgot that was on in the background. How do we best prepare for the person who may have experienced gender inequality or oppression in some form, trauma, based on the fact that she is a woman? Okay, course objectives, an understanding of women's status within contemporary society as influenced by social, political, and economic structures, the ability to reflect on your own personal experiences, the ability to identify issues such as legal, employment, health of concern to women, and analyze them across a variety of settings and contexts. To recognize institutional sexism. This is the era of Me Too, so different than even 5 years ago, 3 years ago when I taught this course. The ability to conduct an assessment of female clients and the ability to develop interventions for the practice with women. There is one book, Handbook of Counseling, 2nd edition. Hopefully you're able to get that through Marywood's bookstore or another source of your choice. All right, what you're all interested in. What do you need to do to get through this course, as I always jokingly say? So there are a series of assignments. There's something that's going to be due every week of this 6-week course. So while that may seem overwhelming initially, what it means is there are no big assignments in this course. The way I design it is it's an online interactive experience so that you are interacting with me or your classmates and or your assignments throughout the 6 weeks, and that we will be in touch with each other through forums, through chat sessions, through phone calls with me, through phone calls with your classmates. All of those are scheduled at a time that is convenient for you. Okay, so I know there were some people thinking that this, would have certain scheduled times. The only thing that is scheduled are the chat sessions, but you'll have about 8 times to pick from. So when I get to that, I'll explain a little more. All right, the first is discussion forums. You're probably familiar with these and have done them in other courses. There are three throughout the 6-week course. They're broken up into the dates down here. July 9th, the week of July 9th, which means we'll start with a discussion forum later this week. Excuse me. July 23rd and August 6th. The week of August 6th, there is both a chat and a forum due that week. So just so you pay attention. I don't give word count limits on the forum. I stopped doing that last year. However, I do look at word count, and it gives me an idea of your thoroughness of the response. So if you're writing a one-sentence answer, that's not going to be considered thorough enough in your reply to the initial questions and then in your reply to your classmates. The intent of this is to engage you in the conversation of the questions, give you some time to reflect and respond, and then to create a dialogue between you and two classmates, at least two classmates. So the way it works is the due date is for the initial discussion, then there'll be a due date for your response to two classmates. In your response, you must ask a question to your classmate, and then you're given 2 days to respond to any questions that are asked. And this will be very clearly marked on Moodle, what you need to do, okay? If you have any questions on this, please let me know. But the difference maybe than what you've done in other courses is that you have an initial response, you respond to two classmates and include a question, and then you need to respond to any questions that are asked. Okay, next is chat sessions. You're going to participate in 3 chats during this course, each worth 5 points. These are like class participation, class interaction. They are 30 minutes. They will discuss the week's readings, assignments, or any questions I pose during the chat, just like I would in a class conversation. And I will post multiple chat times during the week for that 30-minute chat. Now, there are 2 sections of this class. I will post the same chats for both sections and limit it to 3 or 4 students per time so that the availability of chat times, there'll probably be 8 or 9 different times you can choose from, and each section will have those same 8 or 9 times. So when you're chatting, you may be chatting with people from section 1 and people from section 2. Hopefully that makes sense. The chat, I use Google Hangouts, which is connected through your email, your Marywood email. If you've never used Google Hangouts, you just need to let me know that. And then once I set them up, I need about a 5-minute phone conversation with you while you're in front of your computer to get you connected to Hangouts. So again, if you've never used Google Hangouts, once I get the chat set up, so that not this week, but next week, we need to have a 5-minute phone conversation before your chat time, not 5 minutes before your chat's supposed to start. So you just need to be letting me know that you've never done Hangouts and that we need to schedule a time to do that, okay? Most students like the chats. They find them, interactive. You can also do them on your phone. There is a Hangout app. If you are a quick typer on your phone, that will work fine. That gives you the flexibility to pretty much do the chats anywhere. And I will say this here and I'll remind you, if you full justify your screen, it's much easier to read the chat than in the little window that opens in the right-hand corner of your screen when you open Hangouts. So in order to full justify, you need to open it from the little window, then hit the full justify tab at the top of the screen so that it will open as a full screen on your computer. It's much easier to read and type that way. All right, there are 2 quizzes. They will be over a weekend, so they'll open on a Friday and you'll have 4 or maybe even 5 days to do the quiz. There are 11 questions. They're timed 20 minutes, and they are from the readings. And also I will include a couple questions that are, that are exam-like, so that you get the opportunity to practice questions that are scenarios of working with women and asks you, what would you do first or what would you do next? So they come from the LSW exam prep materials. and I will talk a little bit about those when I go over the material for the quiz. So they will open on a Friday, and you'll have until Monday, maybe even Tuesday, depending on how things are going in the course, to do the quiz. These are not group assignments. They are not open book. Any evidence that you have cheated on a quiz will be brought to the attention of Marywood administration. As we move more and more to online quizzes, they are taking this very seriously, that all work done is your work only. They were able to document that 2 students did a quiz together at the same location, and not in social work class, it was in another department, but it resulted in an F for those students for that course. Okay. All right. The next assignment is the current Women's Issues reaction paper. You're going to start with a news article. So from a newspaper, magazine, news journal, news website, a story of interest to women's issues in general, and then you're going to connect it to social work practice. Pick a topic that interests you, or maybe a topic you don't know anything about. And so you start by giving a brief summary of the article, so I know what you wrote about, and then your evaluation of this topic as it relates to social work. And you need to include 3 related literature materials related to the topic of your news article. And they can be journal articles or published reports, not other news articles. So this is, you get into, the social work literature, published government reports that tell you more about the topic that the news article was about. My purpose in doing this is that you're all going to be lifelong learners. And so you're going to read things in the media. And I'm hoping that you will then, when time allows, go find out more information on that topic as it relates to our profession. So this is you sharing that knowledge with me, that you've educated yourself and you're sharing it with me. Students ask all the time, how many pages? It's hard to say. I would think at least like 3. Most tend to be that 3 to 5 kind of range, where you've summarized, the news article, you've, added the literature that you found, and then have a summary conclusion where you can offer some of your own insights. So that's generally where people are. I am not a big person on how many pages does this need to be. I'm more about the quality of the assignment. Have you done what was expected in a way that shows me thoroughness and academic, rigor, I guess, as for lack of a better word, that you've gone out there and done some work on this and that you've learned from the experience. That's what I care about more than anything. Has this been a worthwhile educational and personal learning experience for you? Okay, the next is the policy assignment. This has 2 parts. The first is to identify a state or federal legislation that has been enacted in the last 5 years. That means passed and signed into law. Hopefully you understand what that means from your policy course. If you have any questions about what that means if something is enacted, please reach out. I'm happy to talk with you. When I say in the last 5 years, it can be legislation that is older than 5 years if it's had an update in the last 5 years. A lot of times things are reauthorized every so many years. There are some big federal legislations that are reauthorized. I'm happy for you to do one of those larger federal legislations so that you can trace a little bit its history, and then where is it now, with its most recent reauthorization. And then the second part is you need to find legislation that has been introduced and not yet enacted, either introduced in this year's Congress at the federal level or this year at the state level. It can be Pennsylvania or any state. This is, again, it can be state or federal legislation or international. It's once or twice students have looked at things internationally, and I'm fine with that. It could be something introduced last year that's not yet passed.